Today on Nerdalyfic, we're going to look at the concatenate formula within Excel. What is the concatenate formula and when should you use it? Concatenate is great for opportunities to do a more detailed VLOOKUP. For example, if you're trying to pull in data from a different list that has multiple criteria that you're looking for, this is a great way to do that. Say you work in manufacturing, and your manager or your boss has asked you for an update on a very specific customer. And all they've done is provided you with a list of 5 part numbers. It's got the item number, the line number, the PO number, the PO due date, and the quantity. Now you have all of the production stats available on a different sheet, but it is formatted differently. The columns are in a different order, and also there are multiple lines for the same part numbers. Now how can you go about pulling in this production status into the customer list, but making sure that you have the exact same data? So for example, 9C3. If we find 9C3 on this list, it is here 2 times. We want to make sure we're pulling in the data for that specific PO number and the line number and the PO date and quantity without actually having to manually look it up. Of course, this works a lot better with longer lists, but this is just an example. In order to perform the VLOOKUP without doing it manually, we need to pick out specific criteria that is going to be the exact same on both sheets. So for example, the item number, line number, PO number, PO date, and the quantity. We have to make sure that all of this criteria matches the information we're going to look up on this sheet. Let's do a concatenate formula. For now, I'm just going to call this combined, which to me just means we're combining all of the criteria into one single cell so that we can do our VLOOKUP, because you can't really do a VLOOKUP based on multiple criteria. This formula is quite easy. If you type in equals, then you click on the first cell, then you type in on your keyboard the AND symbol, click on the next cell, click on the AND on your keyboard again, and keep going until you have all of your criteria selected in the concatenate. Once you've clicked on the last cell that you would like to include in this lookup, hit enter. Now let's just expand this column. As you can see, we have a really funky looking code. And this funky looking code is just a combination of all of this thrown into one. Now you might notice you don't see this date, March 27th, in here. That is because Excel has turned it into a number, which is 44282. Let's copy this formula down. Now we're going to need to do the same thing on the other side so that we can find this exact code on the production sheet. Now one important note. To make this concatenate formula, it needs to be in the exact same sequence as the first one, which is item, line, PO, PO date, and quantity. Now it might be helpful for you if you actually write this down on a sheet of paper, or take a little snapshot with your snippet tool and put it off to the side. I'm going to take a snapshot with my snippet tool. The snippet tool comes with your computer, and if you don't already have it set on your toolbar, you just have to search it in your computer's search window on the bottom bar. I'm going to drag this off to the right. That way I have the exact sequence that we need for the concatenate formula. So the first thing we need is the item number, which is here, and the AND symbol, and then the line number, followed by the PO, followed by the PO date, and finally the quantity, and enter. And we'll copy this formula down. Now we should be able to do a VLOOKUP formula. Let's go back to our customer list and make sure our concatenate worked. Equals VLOOKUP. If you want more information about how to do a VLOOKUP formula, there is a video in the playlist for the VLOOKUP. So we're going to look up this code on the same line. We're going to go over to the production stats. We hit a comma, table array. Remember that the very first column that you click on needs to be the one that contains the information that we are looking up, or the information we're trying to find. The column index, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we need a 7 here to tell Excel which column we're trying to pull the information from. And false, as always, close brackets and enter. Now, one thing I missed in this formula was the absolute referencing, which is used to stop the formula range, the lookup range, from changing when I copy the formula down to other cells. And again, that can be added by using F4. Let's copy this down, and voila, we have our updates. This is the information that we could give back to our boss and say, hey, this is where these parts are at. Now, of course, you can always go through and double check. So let's find this line in the other sheet and make sure that it is accurate. So 9C3 on PO 8787. That's not the right one. Next one, and this is it here. 3, yep, complete. So that tells me that our formula and our concatenate has worked. So hopefully that gives you a basic idea of how the concatenate works and how it can help you. A couple things to keep in mind. In order for the concatenate and VLOOKUP to work together, you need to make sure that all of your formatting on both lists is exactly the same. If even one thing is off, it may not actually work. So if, for example, if these PO numbers had different letters on it, it'll change the entire code. So if we come back to the original customer list, that one line item has now become NA because this code no longer exists. If we change it back, it is no longer an error. So you need to make sure that your formatting and your structure is exactly the same. Now, if these did have all B's and you wanted to find a way to get rid of the B's, there is a formula in one of the playlists on Nerdalyfic that teaches you how to remove the first digit or number or letter on the beginning of any cell. Alternatively, you could also add an additional condition into your original customer status list by adding a separate column where you concatenate and you say add a B. So, for example, revised PO equals. If you would like to tell Excel to add a B to the beginning of every PO number, you would use the concatenate formula again, only instead of clicking on a cell, you would have open quotations, B, close quotations, and then click on the PO number, and there you go. So then you could add a B using concatenate to every single PO number. That would allow you to revise your combined code or your concatenate formula so that you could also use this PO number to look up on this spreadsheet if these PO numbers had a B in front of it. If you have any further questions about the concatenate formula or you didn't understand what I was trying to show you here, please go ahead and leave a comment below and I'll be happy to help you. Thanks for joining Nerdalyfic today, and we'll see you soon.